You always know when a story is about to really hit the front page before it hits the front page. Like today, Amnesty is the big story. Well, Arnold Ahlert wrote about Amnesty yesterday and gave us all the news that we needed on all the facts. He joins us now. How are you?
I'm fine, and as luck would have it, I'm in the middle of writing about Amnesty again for tomorrow. So
well,
there'll be more.
Good to hear. Tell me, what do you say to those who are looking at the situation, and it's like a presidential debate, but I guess it would be more on the Democrat side, though maybe the Republican establishment side as well. And the idea is, well, what do you want to do? You want to just deport everybody? I mean, they're already here. Why don't we get something that works out? And you really don't have a heart if you want to do that. And if you don't want to grant them amnesty, what you're just doing is ignoring the problem. And you probably don't like brown people. So, I mean, that's how it's presented. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. They put you in the all-star team of the idiots, and to qualify, you're either the KKK, Black Panthers, or the Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, that's where you are if you disagree on something when it's of substance. But I digress. Please, that's the question to you.
I believe that you missed three words. You know, racist, nativist, and xenophobic are three more. You know, I guess I'm all three because I think this is sheer craziness. As I said to you once before, and it bears repeating. You know, it's remarkable that nobody has asked ever in the years that this has been going on. Okay, we're supposed to take the notion that the 11 million illegals is a valid number. And like I said to you on one other program, how do we know? We can't even take a census of American people, yet somehow we're supposed to, much like the unemployment figure that omits 92 million people who are no longer looking for a job, we're supposed to believe there's only 11 million illegals currently living in America. What if it's 30 million? You know, I would love to see somebody ask one of these politicians, do the parameters of this argument change if we're talking about double or triple the number of illegal aliens that we propose granting some sort of probationary status to?
It's an excellent question, and it should be pursued. That said, when another part of this debate is the different alliances that we see coming out that you have exposed, and one of those alliances is big business. Big business coming together, and they're saying, hey, this is a good deal for us. Unions saying, hey, this is a good deal for us. But how is it a good deal for big business if it hurts their workers, Arnold?
Because they don't really care about their workers, apparently. All they're looking at is the bottom line, and if they can get illegal immigrants or newly legalized immigrants to work for them for cheaper, then they will replace the American workers they have with the newly legalized immigrants. As for the labor unions, I believe they're taking the long view on this, okay? Where they might be looking at some competition for jobs initially, I believe their long-term view is that if we get enough illegal aliens legalized, they are, as Ann Coulter pointed out in a fairly brilliant column today, long-term Democrat supporters. Once we have an unassailable Democrat majority, then we'll eventually get what we want on the union front as well.
When this is being pursued, and you have what I saw it, I think it was Hannity last night. I saw a clip of it, of Rand Paul and Ted Cruz saying, hey, everybody's just getting along now. We're fine. The Republican Party's fine. And I know you're not about the Republican Party or Democratic Party. I'm not about D's and R's and all that. But it seemed that seemed to be a truce between the establishment and the Tea Party. And now I see and I hear from the likes of Paul Ryan and others pushing for getting action on immigration this year. What do you think happened?
Well, first of all, I think nothing should instill more fear in Americans than when politicians of opposing parties say they're getting along. Either reach for your wallet or duck because something bad is coming down the pike. I don't necessarily know what's going on with supposed Tea Party representatives, But I do know that there's probably, my guesstimation would be about 40% of the public out there that has, for all intents and purposes, no representation whatsoever in Washington, D.C. The inner workings of the political parties and the horse trading that's going on, I have no idea. It's remarkable to me, as I said in my column, that you could get a gift as big as Obamacare to run on, and you would muddy the waters with something as contentious as comprehensive immigration reform.
And a great line. And Cruz has come out and said this is in essence suicide for the party, or words to that effect. So, but I agree with you when it comes to what they say and what's happened, and nothing against Cruz or Paul for that matter, or even the people that are part of the establishment. I just get very concerned when they start seeing, well, it seems to me that they're taking the advice of people that want to defeat them. You chart out what's happened politically, and you also chart out what's happened when the supposed only a certain number are let in, like we saw with 86 and the 88 election, and the result of that. What were the results of that?
Well,
Arnold?
You can go straight back from 1980 to the present, and probably the most critical election was when George G.W. Bush ran against Michael Dukakis immediately following. That was the first presidential election following the 1986 Welfare Reform Act, which there was no ambiguity about what that was. That was flat-out amnesty for 2.7 million illegal aliens who were here. And yet in the very next election, Bush received 30% of the Hispanic vote, even as he clobbered Dukakis. I mean, I think it was like a 41 or 42 state route. But Dukakis got 69% of the Hispanic vote. So I don't know what it is they think is going to happen. Somehow they believe they're going to ingratiate themselves to Hispanics, but nobody's explained exactly how that's going to happen.
I want to go back to something you said regarding about 40% of Americans not being represented. Here is Chuck Schumer a while back, last week. There were two speeches, and I may be a week off. I always get confused. It's Thursday. But
that's okay.
Mike Huckabee and Chuck Schumer, very different messages. But here's just a highlight of his speech, Chuck Schumer, to the Center for American Progress, the liberal think tank. Roll it.
The Tea Party elites, with little rebuttal, have been able to make government the boogeyman. They have convinced too much of America that government is the explanation for all their ills. Their mantra, dramatically shrink government and our problems will end, is the fundamentally false but not effectively challenged premise that is the core weakness of the Tea Party.
Okay, and we've actually gone over his speech this week a fair amount, and I don't want to do that to the listeners and play any more of him with respect to Senator Schumer. My question to you, 40% of Americans are not being represented, and we have a government that we've talked about and you have talked about. You said, hey, what happens when you put in money and you get more out? It's welfare at a particular point when these government programs, entitlements, be what they may, if you're getting more than you put in, that's a payment from the government. Have we reached a point where the government says to us, look, we'll give you what you want, but that means we're going to hurt you on what you rely on, and the system, if you rock it, it's going to hurt you. The state that you talk about wanting to change and change the rules and go back to what the Constitution said, if you do that, hey, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you in the tax code with the mortgage deduction. For me, for example, that hurts big time. So are we at that point?
I think there's an argument to be made that we now have so much government that certainly eliminating it dramatically and all at once would be detrimental to the country. Just as if you would suddenly, if you're an alcoholic and you suddenly quit drinking completely, or you're a junkie and you get taken off heroin and go through withdrawal. There's no question about that, but that to me is an argument for how far down the slope we've already gone, that we can't do something dramatic to right the ship, that we do have to do it incrementally. that's an indictment of where we are right now. I mean, the reality is not just the $17 trillion of debt, but the $85 trillion in what they call unfunded liabilities, which are the exact promises that we're talking about that are being made to Americans vis-a-vis Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and all the other entitlement programs. And you also have a population that has grown used to the idea that taking money out of the system is no longer morally suspect, or we've gone from a system where welfare used to be a last resort item to where it's now no longer has any stigma attached to it. So yeah, it would definitely be a long, hard slog. But here's the fundamental question: are you ready to mortgage the future of the country in terms of your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren just to party hardy right now? Because I'm sure not.
Absolutely not. And that's what we're talking about with the intergenerational theft, but also the death of America, of what we know, because we can't sustain this, and yet through messaging, communication on how to fix it, it will be misrepresented, it will be demagogued, and we see even the shutdown or the sequester, we see that politicians will use that to hurt the American people. The government will use the government to hurt the American people, even when the American people are saying, we don't want the government, we want to make sure we're trying to cut back on the size and the scope of it.
When you're whacking 85-year-old World War II veterans, you're putting up police barricades by monuments. I mean, who are we kidding here? That was just, and it's great because the Democrats always talk about how mean-spirited the Republicans are. I don't think there's anything, many things that are more mean-spirited than denying a guy who fought for his nation the ability to take some solace from a memorial.
Agreed. Tell me this. Tea Party, should the Tea Party take the fact that they're still being focused on and still being targeted by the likes of Chuck Schumer and the IRS as a sense that they're not powerful and they should just go away, or the fact that they scare the establishment and those on the left to death because they realize the true power of the Tea Party?
I would go with number two, Monty, to be honest with you, because I'll tell you what. See, to me, and I don't know if I've said this to you before, the Tea Party, there's two Tea Parties. There's the Tea Party that's the actual party, and then there's the Tea Party that really represents an idea. And as much as Chuck Schumer would like to, he can't kill an idea, okay? He might be able to vilify the actual organizations that are the Tea Parties, but he's not going to be able to kill Americans' desire for limited government, constitutional fealty, and fiscal sanity. He's just not going to be able to do that.
Your article on disability, many moments we have left, I think should be read by every high school student who wants to understand how government works, because
don't give him too many ideas.
Well, that's it. But you basically outline how the government has made it an industry to get benefits and has a whole industry focused on gaining benefits, and it's with doctors and insurance companies working together with the American citizens who are saying, hey, look, there's something here, I can carve it out.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And if you looked at it, mood disorders and back pain. I don't know about you, but there's not too many days that I go through without some sort of back pain. And if my wife were here, she would tell you that I don't go through too many days without a mood disorder either. So.
Right. I didn't realize that there were things called mood disorders. I guess I have it. I know I have it, and my wife would attest too. But Arnold, I got to tell you, a great history lesson too when you talk about Reagan and trying to deal with that and how it was politicized, and it happens every time. Look forward to your article tomorrow. I'm going to post the two on Amnesty and Disability with your permission right now on the Facebook,
Absolutely.
if that's okay. Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you very
Great to be
much.
with you. Take care. Arnold
You too.
Ahlert.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Arnold Ahlert. Check out his work. I will get it up during the break on the Facebook. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth continues. AFR Talk.